We're back here at the InfoWarrior, slashing through the lies and disinformation. That's right, live, 9 to midnight Central Time over at PrisonPlanet.tv and Infowars.com, 5 nights a week. We're jumping through your calls. Let's go to Zeus in Tennessee. Zeus, you're on the line.
Greetings, Rosalind and Jason and fellow InfoWarriors. I got a couple of questions for Rosalind, but first I just wanted to note something about the National Guard helicopters hunting marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned it was just in Utah, but actually that's
Utah and Nevada is what I said, but it might be. Right. Is it going to be nationwide for real?
It's been nationwide since about 1989. Congress authorized the National Guard to conduct drug surveillance operations in a.
So are you just telling me that this was like legislation that's been around and now they're just announcing it? Kind of that deal?
No, I've physically seen the helicopters flying over my house. You can Google National Guard Counter Drug Task Force. Mm-hmm. There's one for every state.
Okay.
They use the OH-58 Kiowa helicopter. They got thermal imaging. They can see inside your house, long-range cameras.
All right, man. I'll definitely check it out.
Support. But a couple questions about chemtrails. What are the documented chemicals that are being used right now, and the predominant method of release? Is that via jet fuel and commercial airliners, or?
I can't answer that question for you. I wish I could.
Mm-hmm.
I have been looking at this for a long time, and other than just the jet fuel itself, which changed in the late 1980s, military jet fuel changed from JP4 to JP8. There's lots of additives, and there's some reports that the additives can produce obscurants. In other words, the military Pentagon reports and abstracts report that, but they don't say exactly what it contains. They just note that it can be used for some obscuration events. So it's very hard to determine what they're using. The other issue is that there's a myriad of atmospheric programs ongoing that use aluminum and barium, strontium, and a lot of the other chemicals that are showing up in our drinking water supplies here in California and in other states that are causing us great concern. But we don't know by the mechanism or which jets would be releasing what, or what combinations they may be mixing together. We have no idea. There's a lot of speculation, and everyone wants me to say, well, what is it? And I don't know, because there's too many other programs that are ongoing atmospherically that are also using similar chemicals. Even the U.S. Navy program, recently I read their environmental impact statement for a warfare expansion program in the Pacific Ocean. And when I read it, I saw that entire list of suspect chemicals as being used in part of the Navy warfare expansion program, and in some of their testing that's ongoing now. So I have concerns that a lot of chemicals can be mixed in the air and hitting us, and it's hard to find a direct source or connection. So I can't answer that question for you. I'm sorry.
Anything else, Zeus?
No, but thank you very much for your time.
All right, thank you. Let's jump to Ken in New York. Ken, you're on the line.
Yes, Jason and Rosalind.
Mm-hmm. You know what, Ken? Just hold over. We'll hold you over to the next segment. We got Rosalind for another 30 minutes. I also want to get into, I had a caller earlier in the week try to claim that, the difference between the chemtrails and the contrails was just the height that these planes were at, and it was the atmospheric conditions that were causing them to stay in the air. I want to know if that's a possibility. On the other side with Rosalind Peterson, CaliforniaSkywatch.com, Infowars.com, and, of course, PrisonPlanet.tv. All right, folks, we're back. We're going to go to Ken, Scott, Stephen, and others. But first, I kind of want to get that response. I had this guy call in to my show last week telling me that chemtrails weren't real and that the only difference between a traditional chemtrail and what's going on in the skies now is the height at which they're being put up and the atmospheric conditions. Could that be a possibility, Rosalind?
It can be a possibility because Contrails are produced. You have contrails who, in other words, release this water vapor, which is actually a greenhouse gas, and it's one of the things that aggravates global warming. However, I'm clearly of a mind that we're seeing flights over San Francisco and other areas that are flying much lower. That San Francisco, Marin County, many areas where the jet flights couldn't possibly be as high at 30,000 feet, that they're considerably lower, and we're seeing the persistency even from lower flying jets. So I think that they can produce this phenomenon at lower altitudes, this persistency, because a lot of times in the summertime here, I even took a small plane up, and what happened in Ukiah was that the jets had come through and flown very low over Ukiah, and there was no storm system. As this was in Ukiah, the temperature was about 90 degrees, and when we flew up, it was really interesting because we flew into the clouds made by those jets, and it was like dry, it was cloud-like, but it was almost like a dry powder that we were flying through. And we had the windows open, and we could just fly through. So you would see this stuff dropping down, and then we would just fly right through it. So I think that there's something else going on here, because we have what we call here dry fog, where when you go out, instead of the fog making, it looks like fog, but instead of it making in other words, covering your windshield in a mist that's wet, almost like rain, it'll be a dry powder, but it will have the same properties as fog. So we really feel that there's something else going on, and that they're releasing something else that is creating almost a look-alike phenomenon to real fog. And these man-made clouds are quite different in composition than the real ones that we see less frequently now.
All right, Ken, you're up.
Yes, thank you, Jason. This concern about the manipulation of weather, this always concerned me. But, I've been living here in Prattsburg, New York for 2 years now. And I've been a lot of friends with the farmers and everything. And this strikes me because this past weekend, we took a ride around and inspected, the marshlands and wetlands. It's mostly wetlands around here. I've had a couple of people question me about low-flying aircraft, which we've observed mostly at night, flying from northeast to southeast on routine flights. We thought, nothing of it. We observed a C-130 with dual fuel tanks fly the other day. But I guess my biggest question after observing the wildlife around here is that what Rosalind would comment on would be to look for an increase of insects, or because we've seen already. Well,
what can we look at in the animal kingdom and the ecosphere to detect this type of thing? Is that what your question is, Ken? We'll hold Ken over and try to clear it up on the other side. We got Rosalind Peterson, another 25 minutes. It's the InfoWarrior with Jason Bermas, PrisonPlanet.tv, Infowars.com.
Your road beast, you heard Mark of the East, running through Copland screaming, fuck the police. Hormones in the water, they acting out of order like a pack of rabid wolves. They lambs for the slaughter. Crush your mandible, rip the drums like animal. Eat them seeds, they my own kind, I'm a cannibal. My regiment salute me. Haters wanna shoot me. Kool-Aid in their veins, they lawyers trying to sue me. You sell crack and rap, did a skid bid, multiple baby mamas. Take care of your kids.
All right, we're back. And I think the question that the caller is posing is, are there noticeable changes in the livestock or the eco-life surrounding these types of spraying? Is that correct, Ken? Something like that?
That's correct. What I was mentioning is that we went out this past weekend, a couple of buddies of mine, and these guys they've been here all their lives, okay? And they were just showing me around. And what I discovered here was that this is mostly wetland. And I never knew that. And then we calculated that, and we're observant. A lot of us are vets, we see these aircraft flying over, and we call each other and say, hey, can you see that flying over? Well, the other day we saw a C-130 flying over with twin extra fuel tanks on it.
All right, let me get the answer. Thanks for the call, Ken. Is there a noticeable change in the eco life in places they're spraying?
I think that there is, and one of the things we're noticing frog losses. We're noticing decline in bee populations, which could be related because when you put us under cloud cover, bees navigate by direct sunlight to get home and to get to plants and crops because they need that's part of their navigation system.